There are some people in your life who don't just hurt you once, they study how much pain you can survive. They apologize, they promise, they return, and somehow the wound opens in the same place every time. Ibn Arabi warned of this centuries ago. Not every heart that asks for forgiveness is seeking healing. Some are simply seeking access. If you have ever forgiven someone, only to watch them break you again, this message is not a coincidence. It is a moment of awakening. Because the most dangerous mistake a soul can make is believing that mercy requires self-destruction. Tonight, you will learn the 10 spiritual laws Ibn Arabi taught about the people you must never forgive, not out of hatred, but out of protection. Stay with me. Your soul is about to understand something it will never forget. Forgiveness is one of the most sacred qualities of the human heart. It softens pain, releases resentment, and allows the soul to breathe again. But Ibn Arabi taught something far more subtle and dangerous. When forgiveness is offered without wisdom, it becomes a form of betrayal, not of others, but of the self. Many people believe that forgiving means enduring whatever comes next. They think that being spiritual means remaining open even when they are being wounded again and again. But true spirituality is not self-abandonment. It is self-honoring. When you forgive someone who continues to harm you, you are not practicing mercy. You are teaching your heart that its suffering does not matter. Some people do not change because you forgive them. They simply learn that you will survive the pain and stay. Your kindness becomes their permission. Your patience becomes their strategy. They return, not with transformation, but with better timing, softer words, and sharper knives. Ibn Arabi warned that the heart is not meant to be a battlefield for other people's lessons. Forgiveness should free the soul, not imprison it in cycles of pain. If your forgiveness keeps you stuck in the same wound, it is no longer healing, it is harm, wearing the costume of virtue. True forgiveness brings peace. If your peace disappears each time you forgive, then something sacred is being violated. Your own soul. Not everyone who enters your life is interested in your soul. Some are only interested in how much they can take from it. There are people who do not listen to understand you. They observe you to map you. They watch how quickly you forgive. They notice how much pain you tolerate. They memorize the places where your voice softens and your defenses fall. Your compassion becomes their instruction manual. Your mercy becomes their map. These people are not confused. They are calculated. They know exactly what they are doing when they cross the same line again and again. Each time you forgive them, they learn something new. How far they can go, how long you will stay, how much damage your heart can absorb before it finally breaks. Ibn Arabi taught that wisdom is the eye of the heart. When that eye is closed, the soul walks blindly into the same wound. A person who studies your weakness is not seeking connection, they are seeking control. They are not moved by your kindness. They are empowered by it. When someone returns to harm you in the exact place you have already forgiven, they are revealing their true intention. They are not searching for peace with you. They are searching for permission to continue. And every time you grant that permission, you teach your soul that its pain is negotiable. Everyone makes mistakes. A single wound can be explained. A single betrayal can be misunderstood. But when the same harm repeats itself, it stops being an accident and starts revealing the truth of the heart behind it. Ibn Arabi emphasized that the soul speaks through patterns, not promises. Words can be rehearsed. Apologies can be refined. Tears can be performed. But patterns do not lie. They expose what a person values, what they respect, and what they are willing to sacrifice, including you. The first time someone hurts you, they may not have known better. The second time, they remember exactly what it cost you. By the third time, they are choosing themselves over your well-being without hesitation. At that point, forgiveness no longer invites healing, it invites repetition. Repeated harm is a form of spiritual negligence. It means your pain has been observed, processed, and then ignored. It means the person has decided that their comfort, ego, or desire is worth more than your peace. Ibn Arabi warned that ignoring patterns is one of the most dangerous forms of self-deception. When you continue to forgive what keeps breaking you, you are no longer being patient. You are abandoning your own soul to someone who has already shown you who they are. Believe the pattern. It is the truth speaking clearly at last. One of the most dangerous misunderstandings about forgiveness is the belief that it requires reopening the same door that nearly destroyed you. Ibn Arabi made a clear distinction between the state of the heart and the structure of your life. The heart may release resentment, but the soul must still protect itself. Forgiveness is an internal act. Access is an external decision, and the two are not the same. You can forgive someone without giving them the right to return to your space, your trust, your emotions, or your future. When people are allowed back without transformation, apology becomes nothing more than a reset button for the same cycle of pain. Many wounds are not caused by what someone did, they are caused by what we allowed them to do again. Each time you reopen the door without new boundaries, you teach your nervous system that danger is familiar, that chaos is home, and that peace is negotiable. Ibn Arabi taught that the heart must be merciful, but the path must be guarded. When forgiveness is not paired with wisdom, it does not heal. It invites harm, wearing the mask of virtue. Closing a door does not make you cruel. It makes you conscious. Your heart is not ordinary. It is not disposable. It is not a testing ground for other people's growth. Ibn Arabi taught that the heart is the throne of divine awareness, the place where truth is recognized, where intention is weighed, and where Allah's light is received. To allow the same person to wound that space again and again is not compassion. It is negligence towards something sacred. When you continue to expose your heart to someone who has already shown you they cannot be trusted with it, you are not being forgiving, you are placing your soul in danger. The heart remembers every wound. Even when the mind tries to move on, the soul keeps the record. Each betrayal leaves an imprint. Each disappointment carves a deeper silence into your spirit. Some people treat hearts like temporary shelters. They enter when they are cold, take warmth, and leave destruction behind. Then they return, asking for forgiveness, not because they have learned, but because they need shelter again. Ibn Arabi warned that when the heart is treated as common ground, it eventually forgets its own worth. Protecting your heart is not selfishness. It is obedience to the trust Allah placed within you. Your heart is amana. Not everyone is worthy of holding what is sacred. Not every apology is repentance. And not every tear is regret. Some people apologize simply to regain access to you. They sense when you are pulling away. They feel the door closing. They notice the silence growing. And suddenly, the words appear soft, polished, convincing. I've changed. I understand now. I would never do that again. But what they are truly saying is, please don't take my power away. Ibn Arabi taught that true repentance transforms the inner state before it ever touches the tongue. It produces humility, restraint, consistency, and visible change. False repentance, however, is a performance. It is not about healing the wound. It is about stopping the bleeding so the cycle can continue. Watch carefully what happens after the apology. Does behavior shift? Do boundaries get respected? Does accountability appear without reminders? Or does the same harm return? Just wearing better manners. Some people do not apologize because they are sorry for the pain. They apologize because they miss the comfort of your presence, the benefit of your patience, the safety of your forgiveness. Once that access is restored, the old patterns quietly return. The same wounds reopen. The same nights of confusion repeat. The same tears fall in the same silence. This is the most dangerous form of emotional manipulation, when remorse is used as a key to unlock the same prison door. Ibn Arabi warned that cycles of harm only end when access ends. You cannot heal inside a loop that someone else keeps restarting. Forgiveness becomes poisonous when it is used as fuel for repetition instead of transformation. True repentance breaks patterns. False repentance perfects them. And the heart knows the difference long before the mind is ready to accept it. When someone's apology only resets the cycle, the most merciful act is not to forgive again, it is to leave. There is a quiet collapse that happens inside the soul when a person keeps forgiving while slowly abandoning themselves. It does not happen all at once. It happens through small choices, the moments you swallow your pain, the nights you stay silent about what hurt you, the times you convince yourself that enduring is the same as being noble. Over time, the heart begins to confuse patience with punishment and mercy with self-erasure. Ibn Arabi taught that dignity is not something you demand from others. It is something you protect within yourself. When you forgive someone who repeatedly dishonors you, you are not practicing spiritual maturity. You are teaching your nervous system that your suffering is acceptable, that your tears are affordable, that your soul can be traded for temporary peace. Some people are not softened by your patience. They are strengthened by it. They learn that your boundaries dissolve under pressure, They learn that your love will survive disrespect. They learn that they can cross the same lines again because nothing truly changes when they do. Your forgiveness becomes a shield they hide behind, while continuing the very behavior that broke you. The soul, however, keeps its own record. Every time you stay where you are being wounded, your inner world absorbs a painful message. I do not matter enough to be protected. That belief becomes heavier than the original hurt. It leaks into your confidence, your prayers, your sense of worth, and your connection with Allah. Ibn Arabi warned that love without dignity becomes a prison. The heart cannot thrive where it is not honored. The spirit cannot expand where it must constantly shrink to survive. When you sacrifice self-respect in the name of forgiveness, you are not saving the relationship, you are burying yourself inside it. True strength is not how much you endure. True strength is knowing when endurance becomes self-harm. Self-respect is the spiritual boundary that keeps your heart from being devoured by those who mistake your softness for weakness. It is the decision to stop offering sacred parts of yourself to those who handle them with carelessness. It is the moment you realize that protecting your peace is not cruelty. It is obedience to the trust Allah placed in your soul. You can forgive and still leave. You can release anger and still choose distance. You can wish someone well and never allow them access to your life again. Mercy does not require you to remain in pain. Compassion does not demand that you stay where your soul is slowly breaking. The moment your forgiveness costs you your dignity, it ceases to be a virtue and becomes a wound you reopen with your own hands. Choose self-respect, even if it means standing alone. Your soul was never meant to be the price of anyone else's lesson. There is a truth the heart learns only after it has been wounded too many times. Some pain cannot be healed in the place where it was created. No amount of understanding, patience, or forgiveness can restore what is continuously being broken. Healing requires space. Healing requires separation. Healing requires the courage to walk away from what is familiar but destructive. Ibn Arabi taught that every soul is responsible for protecting the light within it. When you remain in the presence of what harms you, your spirit slowly dims. The heart begins to normalize suffering. The mind becomes skilled at justifying what should never have been tolerated. And the soul, in its exhaustion, confuses survival with living. Distance is not abandonment. It is alignment. It is the soul's way of saying, I will no longer participate in my own destruction. Many people believe they must stay close in order to fix what is broken. But what is truly broken cannot be repaired in the same emotional environment that caused the damage. Wounds require air. They require silence. They require safety. They require a new atmosphere where the heart is not bracing itself for the next injury. There are relationships that collapse not because love was absent, but because peace was impossible. There are connections that die not from hatred, but from exhaustion. The soul reaches a moment where it realizes, I am losing myself here. And in that moment, distance becomes an act of survival. Ibn Arabi warned that staying too close to pain makes the heart forget what peace feels like. The longer you remain, the more your spirit adapts to chaos. Soon, you begin to crave the very turbulence that is destroying you, simply because it is familiar. The heart becomes addicted to the cycle, the hurt, the apology, the hope, the disappointment, until that cycle becomes its identity. But healing demands a different rhythm. It demands mornings without anxiety, conversations without walking on glass, sleep without fear of the next storm, silence without tension, presence without pain. When you create distance, you give your nervous system permission to rest. You allow your soul to exhale. You begin to remember who you were before you were constantly bracing yourself for impact. You rediscover parts of your spirit that had gone quiet in the noise of emotional survival. Distance also reveals truth. When you step away, you see the relationship clearly for the first time without emotional fog, without attachment clouding your judgment, without fear influencing your choices. You recognize what was healthy, what was harmful, and what you had been trying to save at the cost of yourself. Some people grow when you leave. Others reveal their true nature, and either way, the soul is protected. Ibn Arabi taught that Allah does not heal the heart while it continues to place itself in harm's way. Just as the body must be removed from the fire before the burn can cool, the soul must be removed from the source of its pain before peace can return. You are not required to stay where you are being wounded in order to prove your faith, your patience, or your love. Sometimes the most spiritual decision is the one that preserves your life force. Distance is not the absence of compassion, it is the presence of wisdom. And wisdom always chooses the path that leads the soul back to itself. There is a dangerous misunderstanding that lives in many hearts. The belief that suffering quietly is a form of righteousness, that enduring emotional harm is a sign of strong faith, that remaining in a place where the soul is slowly breaking is somehow pleasing to Allah. Ibn Arabi shattered this illusion. He taught that Allah does not love oppression in any form, not even when a servant inflicts it upon their own heart. Your soul is not disposable. Your pain is not insignificant. Your life is not meant to be consumed by someone else's chaos. Allah did not place His light within you so that it could be dimmed in the name of endurance. He did not create your heart to be bruised in the name of patience. He did not ask you to destroy yourself in order to prove your loyalty to anyone. The religion of Allah is a path of balance, dignity, and protection, not silent suffering. Many people stay in destructive situations because they confuse patience with punishment. They believe that faith means remaining, even when their spirit is being eroded day by day. But true patience is not remaining in harm, it is remaining aligned with truth. Sometimes that truth requires leaving what is breaking you, even when it hurts, even when it is lonely, even when it feels impossible. Ibn Arabi taught that the heart is a sacred trust. When you continue to expose it to injustice, you are not being humble, you are being negligent with something Allah entrusted to you. Your well-being is not separate from your faith. It is part of it. There are souls that stay because they fear being alone more than they fear being destroyed. They stay because familiarity feels safer than freedom. They stay because they hope the person will change. But hope that costs you your soul is not hope, it is surrender to suffering. Allah does not command you to bleed for someone else's lessons. He does not require you to remain in darkness to prove your devotion. The Quran is clear. Oppression is darkness, and that includes the oppression you allow within your own life. When you walk away from injustice, you are not walking away from love, you are walking toward Allah. When you choose peace, you are choosing obedience. When you protect your heart, you are protecting your worship. When you refuse to remain where your soul is being crushed, you are honoring the divine trust placed inside you. Ibn Arabi warned that the soul weakens when it tolerates what it knows is wrong. Over time, that weakness spreads into your prayers, your confidence, your sense of purpose, your connection with Allah. Staying in harm does not make you stronger. It makes you disappear. True faith builds life. It does not slowly erase it. Allah's mercy is not built on your suffering. His pleasure is not purchased with your pain. He does not need you broken in order to love you. He does not ask you to sacrifice your soul on the altar of someone else's comfort. Your dignity is part of your religion. Your peace is part of your worship. Your protection is part of your obedience. And the day you finally choose yourself, not in arrogance, but in obedience to the one who created you, that is the day your soul begins to breathe again. You are not required to stay where your heart is dying. Allah never asked that of you. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when forgiveness alone is no longer enough, when words of mercy have been spoken, when prayers for healing have been offered, when hope has been stretched to its limit, and yet the wound remains open, bleeding in the same place for the same reason, at the hands of the same person. It is in that moment that Ibn Arabi revealed one of the deepest spiritual truths. Sometimes the highest form of forgiveness is not reconciliation, it is release. Letting go is not the absence of love, it is the presence of wisdom. True forgiveness does not always stay. Sometimes it leaves quietly, without bitterness, without revenge, without the need to explain itself. It closes the door, not in anger, but in clarity. It chooses peace over proof, healing over hope, dignity over attachment. Many people believe forgiveness must always rebuild the bridge. But Ibn Arabi taught that some bridges collapse because they were never meant to be crossed again. When a connection repeatedly leads the soul into darkness, the most merciful decision is not to keep walking, it is to stop. Letting go requires enormous courage. It means accepting that the person may never change. It means releasing the fantasy of who they could become. It means grieving the future you imagined. It means choosing your soul over your attachment. But in that release, something extraordinary happens. The heart becomes light again. The breath becomes easy. The prayers become sincere. The soul returns to itself. Ibn Arabi wrote that the soul cannot ascend while it is chained to what is destroying it. Every attachment that drains your life force is a weight that pulls your spirit downward. Letting go is not loss, it is elevation. Some people mistake letting go for weakness. In reality, it is one of the strongest spiritual acts a human being can perform. It is the moment you stop negotiating with your own pain, the moment you refuse to keep reopening wounds in the name of loyalty, the moment you decide that your life is too sacred to be consumed by another person's chaos. Letting go does not erase love. It purifies it. It transforms love from suffering into serenity, from desperation into devotion, from attachment into acceptance. It allows you to forgive fully, because you are no longer clinging to the very source of your pain. And perhaps the greatest truth of all, when you finally let go of what is hurting you, Allah makes room for what is healing you. Every ending clears the way for a beginning. Every door that closes creates another that opens. Every release creates a return to yourself, to your peace, to your purpose. The strongest form of forgiveness is the one that frees you, and the soul that is finally free is the soul that can finally rise. If someone keeps hurting you after being forgiven, they are not testing your patience. They are revealing your value to them. Ibn Arabi taught that the heart was never meant to be a battlefield for other people's lessons. It is a sanctuary, and sanctuaries must be protected. You are not required to bleed, so someone else can learn how to love. You are not meant to stay where your soul is slowly disappearing. The day you stop reopening the same wound is the day your spirit begins to rise. Choose wisdom with your mercy. Choose dignity with your love. Choose peace with your heart. And remember, the strongest forgiveness is the one that finally sets you free. If this message reached you tonight, take it as a sign your soul is ready for its next chapter.